now following the state of America national anthem and Australian national anthem.
All right, hello and welcome to the final game of the U25 Women's Wheelchair Basketball World Championships here in Suphon, Thailand. My name is Vanessa Erskine, and I'm sitting here with the one and only Will Waller, two-time USA Men's Paralympian, as well as numerous other international tournaments that are too long for me to list. What do you think about this game coming in so far?
I think we saw this team match up in pool play, and the Americans got the better of the Australians. In that game, the Australians were led by their twin towers, Annabelle Lindsay and Tisha Shadwell, each of them scoring in double figures, and the USA really had a great balanced scoring attack. Rose Hollerman, highly efficient with 14 points. Abby Duncan had a great stat line, 12 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and several other members of Team USA. So a lot of depth on that squad, and the Australians are going to need to really go through their two bigs if they're going to be successful in this game.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we saw about similar rotation from both teams. So USA utilized 9 players with some players coming in and off the bench. Australia utilizing their main 7. So I think we can expect a couple of substitutions. They're able to get a couple of players just in case of foul trouble or anything like that. And in total, the final score of that game was 56-31. So USA coming up with a 25-point win. Hopefully Australia is feeling a little better prepared for this, and I think they weren't expecting Rose Hollerman to come out so hard in that first quarter and set the tone like she did. So I'm definitely interested to see whether if USA can set that tone again, or if Australia is going to be ready to battle back.
Yeah, and to your point, what USA did in order to set that tone was put a lot of pressure defense. Coach Trooper Johnson alternating the style of pressure. Sometimes that was full court with 5, sometimes it was 3 up. But either way, he's going to be doing something to put pressure on that squad.
And now before we kick off with the starting 5 of each team, do you want to give us some sponsors?
Absolutely. These sponsors really put on a great tournament with the host here with the local organizing committee, so couldn't be more grateful for their support. That's the Sport Authority of Thailand, the Nation's Sports Development Fund, Sports Association for the Disabled of Thailand under the royal patronage of His Majesty the King, Suphanburi province itself, which has just turned out to be a beautiful place, Sport Association of Wheelchair Basketball for Thailand, the Football Thai Factory Sporting Goods Company, Boon Rod Brewery Company with Singa Brew, and Molten Basketball has been a great sponsor around the world for wheelchair basketball. CFOC Company, Bangkok Mass Transit Authority with a great fleet of buses, and the IWBF helping the local organizing committee build the capability to put on this great event. So many thanks and our hats off to the IWBF for their hard work. And we're getting ready for tip-off here, Vanessa. How excited are you?
I am excited. Hopefully this is about as good of a game as we saw yesterday in the semifinal against Australia and GB. That was quite the show they had yesterday. So do you want to hit us with the starting five of USA?
Yeah. The starting five for USA are going to be Josie Aslaxon, Abigail Duncan, Rose Hollerman, Ali Ibanez, and Lindsay Zerbrug.
And the starting five for Australia is going to be number 13, Annabelle Lindsay, followed up with number 10, Tasha Shadwell, number 4, Mary Friday, as well as number 7, Marianne Latu, and last but not least, little Isabel Martin.
Right off of that jump ball there, Vanessa, Australia got the tip but couldn't control it, and Rose Hollerman comes out setting the tone as she's done all tournament, getting a breakaway layup uncontested.
What I'm going to be interested in is whether USA is going to be able to maintain their wall press. They have a little bit of different playing styles. So Australia does play with the two bigs. Both bigs do have good speed, but USA has been demonstrating their speed and power with a wall set press throughout this whole tournament. So it'll be interesting to see how Australia is able to handle that.
Exactly right, and we see that pressure happening right now coming off of the made shot by Abby Duncan right at the top of the key. The 1-2 punch of USA, Hollerman and Duncan already making their presence felt.
Australia not able to get the ball over half, ends up going out of bounds. It will be USA ball at the sideline. Will Waller getting some touches.
Little excited over here, ladies and gentlemen, little excited. Abby Duncan getting ready to trigger the ball to Josie Aslaxon. Back to Duncan, who's really been controlling the pace and tempo of Team USA. Abby Duncan engages at the top of the key, swings it over to the left. Annabelle Lindsay rejects the pass from Zerbrug. USA retains possession with 12 seconds on the clock.
Still plenty of time to set up and get a good shot off.
Abby Duncan with the ball, going for her second in a row, comes off left.
And that's a shot we've seen her be able to knock down throughout this whole tournament. So it's just going to be a matter of time, I think, before she's able to find a rhythm there.
USA with their patented pressure. Marianne Latu for two. Great shot by her. She was able to roll into the key, put up the shot confidently, and registers the first and second point for the Australian Devils. Lindsay Zerbrug, unfazed by the shot by the Aussies and the ruckus Aussie crowd, puts in two of her own from the right wing. Tisha Shadwell with the ball, give and go with Marianne Latu. Unable to control her chair. She was about to have a give and go right back to Shadwell. Unable to control her chair, went down, and since she did, that is an offensive charge. She made too much contact with the chair at first. Latu coincidentally plays for an Australian legend, Troy Sachs, on the Sydney Metro Blues. Troy Sachs, at one point in his career known as the best player in the game, now giving back to the sport in Australia, coaching some of the youth.
Who better to learn from?
Not many. Rose Hollerman misses the 15-footer from the right side. They had a breakaway on that play. Isabel Martin was running on the right side scot-free, but Tisha Shadwell had gone down. Aussies opted to stop the play instead of taking advantage of that breakaway. Let's see what the Twin Towers can establish here in the half court, Vanessa.
Right now it looks like they're setting Lindsay up from outside instead of her normal in the key range that she really likes, but we've also seen her knocking them down from about the 15-foot range this entire tournament, so I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem for her, as that's what we've been seeing a lot of.
Not much of a filter at all for her. She'll lock and load on anyone she needs to, and she'll get a great look. She's got mismatches just about anywhere she goes on the court. She is, in fact, the tallest player on the court.
It has been confirmed.
Long shot there by Annabelle Lindsay. Rose Hollerman gets out on the break. She's going to set up a mismatch on Marianne Latu. Tisha Shadwell, great transition defense, drops back and makes sure that they can't get that entry pass into Hollerman. USA with the ball on the right side. Rose Hollerman sitting off the screen from Zerbrug. Rose Hollerman with the mismatch. Puts it up, in and out.
A little bit of a hectic offense there from USA. We ended up seeing 4 players on one side. Not exactly the style they normally want to look for.
Lindsay to Shadwell. Shadwell, little bit out of control with her chair. Shadwell, 16 years old, so as far as these under-25 championships are concerned, she's got a bright future. I'd expect to see her back in 4 years from now, but to be honest with you, I'd expect her to see her on the women's scene for the national team, senior side, here in the not-too-distant future.
I completely agree, and this is going to be a timeout by Australia. And speaking of a couple of girls that might be coming back, Australia actually only has 2 girls on this squad that'll be too old for the next U25 World Championships, and that's going to be Georgia Bishop Cash, as well as Jess Kronia. And those are the only 2 girls that they will be too old to return, so they could basically be coming back here at the next World Championships with the same roster.
Yeah, we leveraged one of the Aussie staff to get us the average age of that team, and it averages out at 18. So to your point, they're going to have a lot of retention of the athletes who are here.
And the USA average age is looking at 22 right now, so they're going to have a couple more girls that are phasing out before the next under-25 World Championships, but I think they also have a ton of youth. They have Itzy Gonzalez, only 14 years old, as well as Bailey Moody at 17, so they've got a lot of youth getting some great experience right now. Yeah,
great news story for both programs. Zerberg with the ball on the left side, up to Duncan, top of the key. Good ball movement by USA. Unable to convert the shot. They retain, however, on the tip. They retained possession, USA did, but Hollerman misses her 3rd shot in a row. Isabel Martin with the ball.
It was called a travel, and she's a little confused because for it to be a travel, you get 2 pushes before you have to pass, shoot, or pass, shoot, or just get rid of the ball, dribble. And she is saying that she didn't push her chair at all, that she was gliding, and the ref disagrees.
And the ref gets the final word on that one. Under 10 seconds, USA with the ball. Ball swing around the horn to Lindsay Zerbrug. Another miss for USA. Bit of a colder start, but you want to know what, Vanessa? In a championship game, it's not realistic to expect that people are going to come out without any nerves at all. Isabel Martin with the ball. Abby Duncan putting pressure on her. Tips the ball on its way to Latu. USA with retention. 2-on-1 play. Abby Duncan with the ball. Drives in. Shoots. Misses. Rose Hollerman with the rebound. Catch. Gather. Score. Rose Hollerman. When you have a few missed shots in a row, the best thing that you can do is take your time on that next shot. So you saw her really take her time. Tisha Shadwell was down there basically defending 2 people, and Hollerman put it up. Good effort by Shadwell. Annabelle Lindsay with the ball on the baseline, shooting over Ali Ibanez. That shot is long. Rebound to Abby Duncan. USA off to the races, have a 4-on-3 break. Seal side on the left by Aslaskin. Foul on the play. Mary Friday bumps the chair of Abby Duncan. She puts it up and she puts it in. Good job by the Americans running that fast break very well.
And a free throw opportunity early in a game right now for someone like Abby Duncan, who is a primary shooter for USA, is something the Australians really don't want. This is something that can set her on fire for the rest of the game potentially.
That's exactly right. And that play by the low pointer, Josie Aslickson, really is where she gets her contribution the most. You're not going to see her filling up the box score, but we should include some of these seals for our low pointers because that's one of the best ways that they can impact the game.
Definitely.
Entry pass into Annabelle Lindsay. Annabelle Lindsay.
Tasha Shadwell trying to face against Rose Hollerman. 8 seconds left on the shot clock.
Trying to get the two-man game going on the left side. Tisha Shadwell with the ball. 1 second on the clock. Puts it up. No good. Shot under duress. Almost put it in, Vanessa. USA on another break. They've got a couple people out. Tip pass by Aslickson.
A little bit of miscommunication there on the passing.
The prior break they run to perfection. In that one, they got a little cluttered. Annabelle Lindsay, look at her push that chair. She's one of the faster players on this court.
Great control there by Annabelle Lindsay, able to reel the ball in.
Yeah, but that little bit of a disruption has them under 10 seconds now. Marianne Latou with the ball, working with Mary Friday on the right side, trying to run a two-man game. Marianne Latou gets it into Lindsay's hand, puts up the three, just off the rim. Good effort by Lindsay. Tough shot. USA pressure may not be creating turnovers in the full court, but when they get them into the half, they're under duress. Hollerman with the ball, resets her screen, swings it over to the other side to Zerbrug. Zerbrug off the back of the rim. 10-2 for USA. 3 minutes left in the first quarter.
Needing to get the ball over half and not able to do so. That's going to be an 8-second call on USA. On Australia. Great defensive pressure by USA. We're going to see our first substitution of the game as well. We now have number 11, Tasha Ovens, coming in for number 9, Isabel Martin.
We talked about the pressure that USA can put on other teams. So far, Australia have 5 turnovers. USA not converting at the rate they had recently. However, still a 10-2 lead. Foul called on the floor. Tisha Shadwell might have got her with the chair. Bumped Hollerman. I believe it's on Shadwell.
I believe so as well.
Coach Trooper Johnson and Coach Steve Charlton calling out what they want their team to do. You don't need to wait for a timeout to give feedback. Calling a hard jump is Charlton. Zerbrug with another look. She puts it in. She was about just under 50% yesterday, 7 for 15 in that semifinal game. Even if she misses a few shots, she maintains her composure and comes right back again. 2-on-2, Annabelle Lindsay, great cross pick. Almost created a 2-on-1. USA recovered. Shadwell into Lindsay. Lindsay at the free throw line, just short.
Australia seeming a little panicked while bringing the ball up the court. It's almost kind of as if it's like playing hot potato with them. It seems everyone's a little nervous to have the ball in their hands, and that's something they need to take a breath, calm down, settle their nerves, and make sure not to give a bad pass.
Exactly right. You need to just do what's been working throughout. We've seen Lindsay hit each one of the shots she's happened to miss so far today. She's hit those at other moments throughout the tournament. USA, however, putting a lot of chair pressure. Coach Charlton calling out some of these adjustments that he wants to see the team make to give them a better opportunity, have more time on the clock when they get it over the half.
15 seconds left on the shot clock. Shadwell deciding to take that long two.
Looked good, just in and out. Rattled around the rim before it popped back out. USA trying to get another numbers advantage. Ali Abanya is with the seal. Duncan flips it over to Hollerman instead of going in on the seal, and Hollerman puts it in from 6 feet inside the paint. USA 14-2. Long pass from Shadwell over to Annabelle Lindsay. Hollerman picks it off. She dumps it down low to Duncan. She opts to pull it out on the screen. Swing pass over to Zerbrug. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Two-man game. Josie Aslickson with a rare two-pointer. She's usually making an impact in other ways, but it's a huge cherry on top when a low pointer can go in and convert with 2 points.
Difficult pass there by the Australians, trying to hit Lindsay while she's double teamed. They really need to try and get some second person over half court to be able to either help pick for Lindsay and get her free or be a receiver for the ball.
Yeah, and Shadwell's got the strength to make those passes, but it doesn't make it any easier. That's a long distance to cover with one pass. USA ball movement going from right to left and then back. Aslickson gets smothered by the Twin Towers, swings it out to Zerbrug, who puts in another two. Beautiful shot that time by Lindsay.
And great read by Josie Aslickson to swing it out.
Yeah, had she put that up, that would have been a terrible read. So nice to see her poised with the Twin Towers on either side. Kicks it out. 2 seconds on the clock in the quarter. Last second shot by Shadwell just off the back of the rim. She's got some true strength with the length of these passes and shots that she's able to put up. Just showing her inherent strength that she's got. USA here with a 16-point lead. Big early deficit for the Devils. And the Devils have 8 turnovers currently, and that is a good indication of why the lead is what it is. Those turnovers are really coming off of the pressure by Team USA. We've seen this basically throughout this 2019 Under-25 Women's Wheelchair Basketball World Championship. That defense has typically led to offense, and the Aussies aren't the only team that have suffered from this pressure defense by the Americans.
And now, looking at shooting percentages, USA is currently at 45% and Australia only at 12%. 45% has been actually relatively high percentage for these big games here in this tournament. With these developmental teams, do you think these coaches are trying to focus more on defensive fundamentals then right now with these young players? Or what do you think, what is contributing to these lower shooting percentages?
Well, I think for certain we've seen USA put pressure on most teams like this, so Australia shouldn't feel alone with regard to the impact of that pressure. But I think what these coaches are trying to get the athletes to do is to read and react. And so despite what the defense is throwing at you, read the situation and react accordingly in order to make the right basketball play. And we've seen that many of these athletes have a great basketball IQ. So I'm confident that Coach Steve Charlton is out there making some subtle adjustments for the team. And the biggest one that he's going to have to make is how are they going to respond to the press? And where do you need to get Annabelle Lindsay in order to make sure that they can break the press? Typically, they need her over the half, and you need Tisha Shadwell to trigger it from the elbow all the way over the half.
And also, USA actually has 12 more offensive possessions, or takes, than Australia. So that just shows the defensive pressure from the USA really doing a number here on the Australians.
Really limiting opportunity. Annabelle Lindsay with the ball on the baseline, kicks it up to Marianne Latou. Marianne Latou over to Shadwell. Shadwell with the wing shot, no good. They pushed her out about 16 to 18 feet on that one. Makes for a much harder shot when you're sitting stationary. Abby Duncan engages again. Another skip pass forces the defense to react. Zerbrug drops it into Rose Hollerman with a miss.
Not a shot she'll normally miss. It's about a 6-foot range there for her, and that's something she can knock down pretty easily, even over someone with a mid-size height, such as Marianne Latou. And so Australia really doesn't want her to be in the key that close, and she's going to be flashing like we've been seeing.
Yeah, she's leveraged her chair skills pretty well to do that. Seal side on the left. Ibanez got her in.
Great defensive recovery by
Great recovery by Lindsay on that one. Exactly right. And then Zerbrug comes back on the right side with another screenshot. She's having herself a really great game so far. 20 to 18 currently.
Isabel
athlete.
Martin leaking out past the press wall there by the USA, getting the ball and now ending up on the floor. Australia is going to opt to get her uprighted so they can continue with 12 seconds left on the shot clock.
Every now and then we'll get an obligatory clap from the crowd just because they get up. Not necessary for the future reference. Zerbrugge currently has 8 points, leading all scores. Annabelle Lindsay thought better of it initially, shot it long. Ali Abanya is not a very tall player, but her wingspan is a lot longer than her height might indicate. She was pretty disruptive there. Duncan running the press again, gets it into Rose Hollerman, who went by Marianne Latou on the right block. Latou needs to force Hollerman over to the top, which is where help is. You can't give up the baseline on that shot. Hollerman has a speed advantage, so that's easier said than done. Isabel Martin tried to set a cross pick. Annabelle Lindsay shook her off, went for the mismatch. Unfortunately, another miss for the Australian team. Duncan engages again on the left side. Hollerman's in the paint once again. Shoots it over Annabelle Lindsay, which is a tough task for anyone. Tisha Shadwell leaks out. Poor pass from Lindsay, picked off by Duncan. Duncan brings it up on the right side. Kicks it into a flashing Rose Hollerman. Cuts into the paint for an uncontested layup. Great shot. Good chair skills there by Hollerman. Aussies there patiently this time. Get it over the half. Let's see if they can engage here with poise in the half court. Setting up the two-man game on the right side. Annabelle Lindsay over to Latou. Throws it to Shadwell as she's making a pivot. Needs to wait till she makes eye contact before she makes that pass. Great timeout here. If you're the Australians, you just want to tell your girls, listen, you got into this final by executing. And he's going to list off several of the things that they executed well. And as a coach, what you need to do is to remind these players that this is just another game. It's another 40-minute game. You're in another 10-minute quarter. So come on out and stick to the principles and the fundamentals that got you here. So let's set up this press break as we draw it out. And when you get it over the half, take a breath. Don't be as urgent as you were when you were trying to get it over the half within 8 seconds. And let's get some cross picks. And one of the things that I noted yesterday is that it'd be great if Annabelle can get the ball out of her hands and leverage her speed and strength to get a little bit closer to the basket. She's had a 2 to 3 16-footers, I'd call it, and those 16-footers aren't going. So logically what you want to do, get the ball out of her hands and let her use her chair skills to get inside for more of a point-blank shot. And when she gets it, she's got a high percentage chance of making it.
I completely agree. And honestly, you want her to be able to isolate one of the weaker defenders here on the USA team. So a one or a two-pointer, Josie Laskin, for example, try and have Annabelle Lindsay without the ball coming in full speed and isolating to get there into the key.
Absolutely. Bailey Moody checking into the game for the Americans, along with Nina Welfley. Rebound to the Australians. Annabelle Lindsay with the ball. Isabel Martin trying to set a pick for her. She sets it, and they just get it over the half. Entering the game for Australia is Jess Cronje. Baseline shot, this time from about 10 feet for Annabelle Lindsay, and this time from the left side. They might have found something here that'll work for them. Welfley triggers the ball to Rose Hollerman on the right. Skip pass from Hollerman over to Zerbrugge. Zerbrugge up again and short. Rebound to the Aussies.
A little bit of a careless.
She brings it down in the paint. As a big, you can't bring it down at that moment because you give the shorter players an opportunity to swipe at it, and that's exactly what happened. 3 on 3 on the offensive set.
Australia needing to do a little bit of better job with their passes, not just connecting the dots player to player, but also reading the defense. USA is getting hands-on passes right now and going through passing lanes and being able to come away with some of these steals. And a lot of it is just a careless pass, not reading the defense and not setting up a chair to not allow the defense to intercept that passing lane.
Yep. What these coaches likely teach is put a pass fake to one side before you throw it to the other, and just freeze the defender for that 1 second is going to give you the opportunity to get to pass to the person who you're passing to. Foul there on the play by Australia. Shot clock at 8 for the Americans. Rose Hollerman with the ball, two-man game with Bailey Moody, swings it to the other side. However, for Zerbrug, who puts it in, Zerbrug yet again having another opportunity. That's 10 points for Zerbrug. She's 5 for 12 now on the half. Aussies with the ball, trying to get this through this wall of defense.
USA, great
Marianne
pressure.
Latou. The pass has to be a little bit more to her waist area as opposed to farther down. She doesn't have the balance to catch a pass at her foot plate. Welfley, no hesitation, rolls into that shot. Coach Trooper Johnson has been imploring her to look for her shot a little bit more. Latou just gets it over to Annabelle Lindsay. Lucky bounce there. She brought it down. It deflected off the chair, bounced right back to her. 6 seconds on the shot clock. Ball swung over, intercepted by Aslickson. Josie Aslickson making her presence felt in a lot of small different ways. Welfley to Hollerman.
And I know the USA is applying great pressure, but a lot of these turnovers are just careless passes by the Australians. A lot of them is just rushing, not focused up and not reading the defense, kind of trying to get the ball out of their hands as fast as possible, and USA really taking advantage of that.
Turnover count in the first 16 minutes of play for Australia at 13. And no matter who you are, what style of basketball you play, 13 turnovers in 16 minutes is not going to give you an opportunity to keep the game close.
No, we can see that with Australia only taking 13 shots currently as compared to USA's 31.
Absolutely. Ali Ibanez coming back in for Nina Welfley. Got a couple of great looks in there. Tried to have an impact herself on the offensive end. Coach Johnson giving her some feedback there on the bench.
And now we see something interesting too. Australia, Coach Charlton has opted to take Lindsay out for a moment.
Absolutely right. Smart play by the coaches. Rose Hollerman went down on the block there, got a mismatch. Put the two in. Rose Hollerman jumps the lane, gets her fingertip on it. Cronje with the ball. Hook pass up to Shadwell. 10 seconds on the clock. 3:30 left in the game. Player down. Official calls a push, rather. David Gould, rollers Paralympian, highly decorated roller from the men's program in Australia, cheering on the Australian Devils squad. He's part of the leadership of Wheelchair Basketball Australia and the high performance programs. Great to see another decorated athlete in the Australian program giving back. He's a coach of one of the other local programs there, Queensland Comets, I believe.
And he was telling Australia to use their dead time, and that just basically means that USA had taken a break while the play was stopped. So break down their defense and get to your spots right now while you have the chance.
Shadwell misses long. Nina Welfley checks back in. Coach Johnson pulled her out for a brief moment, then gets her right back into the game with that feedback. Let's see what she implements. Rose Hollerman into Bailey Moody. Bailey Moody shoots it long, gets bumped down low. I believe the foot plate of Shadwell hit the rear wheel of Bailey Moody. Bailey Moody in the last couple games didn't shoot as well as she did early on in the tournament. So good opportunity for her, if you're a fan of America, to get to the line, work her mechanics, and it might be something that could get her going.
Just a little long on the first one, off the back of the rim.
28-4, Team USA.
We're seeing Annabelle Lindsay check back into the table now.
Bailey Moody misses both. Lindsay Zerberg races to the sideline, tries to save it.
Great hustle there by Zerbrug.
Sacrifices the body, goes into the signs on the side. Be nice to the sponsors, Lindsay. They're helping to put this tournament on.
And they've been doing a fantastic job with that.
Hallelujah. Tranya with the ball.
Lindsay Martin Isabel Martin needing to be a little careful. Came into that pick with her foot play. Don't want to get an offensive call, and that's what we've been seeing a lot here at this tournament.
Great seal by Isabel Martin. Gets her big inside the paint. She gathered and shot it. Unfortunately, the ball's just not dropping as well for Annabelle Lindsay as it typically does.
USA really focusing on Lindsay. She's been the main scoring threat of Australia this entire tournament. We see her often backpicked, often double teamed. They're really making sure she does not feel comfortable this game.
Tough shot there by Rose Hollerman. She followed the seal by Josie Oslickson. And Rose Hollerman was turned right while she had to shoot back to the left. Turnover there by the Australians. Team USA recovers the turnover and gets the pass inside to Rose Hollerman for a point-blank layup on the left block.
And that is going to be Hollerman's 12th point of the game.
Bailey Moody gets another turnover. Australians having a tough time with the pressure. Nina Welfley with a 2-point basket. Coach Johnson, whatever he said to her, it sure worked. She put the bucket in. Nice to see some of the younger players who are in their first tournament get a bucket. Two-man game here. Great job by Isabel Martin. She had Annabelle Lindsay freed up. Welfley ended up fouling Lindsay to prevent her from taking advantage of that screen. Isabel Martin doing a great job. She's only been in the game for a short period of time.
And that's a foul USA can afford to give up. It's going to be an inbound sideline for Australia. Only second team foul and only her first personal foul.
Another two-man game. They're trying to work that two-man game with her. USA having good rotation. Australians have number 8 who's come into the game. That's Georgia Bishop-Cash. Puts up a shot from the right wing with the shot clock winding down. Comes up short. Just under 1 minute to go in the first half. USA 34-4, putting a lot of pressure on the Australians. Rose Hollerman with the ball. Skip pass over to Lindsay Zerbrug. Zerbrug up to Welfley. Welfley over to Hollerman. 6 seconds on the clock. Hollerman locks, loads, scores! Rose Hollerman with another 2.
18 points for Hollerman so far in this first half.
She came on slow at the start of this game, but it doesn't look slow anymore. Her shot is now beginning to fall. That's not good news if you're a fan of the yellow and green.
Once again, Isabel Martin setting that pick for Lindsay to try and roll off of. Unfortunately, Australia not getting the ball out of Lindsay's hands, so she's trying to drive off that pick with contact with the ball. Moody pulling back there and getting the foul. It will be the third team foul.
Really good call by these IWBF officials. They've called the game consistent, but haven't controlled the game with all of the calls necessarily. Tough pass into Mary Friday. She's a low pointer from Perth, Australia, home of Bradley Ness, plays for the Perth Wildcats. But as I said earlier, if you're a mid-pointer or a high pointer passing into one of our lower classification players in wheelchair basketball, it's got to be a pinpoint pass because they just don't have the core strength to move laterally or up and down to catch it.
Exactly, and even if they catch it, you need to be able to set them up to be able to get that shot off as well.
Exactly right. 5 seconds on the game clock. Zerbrug with another one.
Just
in and out.
Yeah.
Basically circled around the full rim, but it doesn't matter because the USA have a commanding lead, 36-4. Very tough first half for the Aussie Devils, and the tale of this game so far is that pressure defense by the USA, which was predicted because it's happened all throughout the tournament. They've put that pressure up in the first half. That pressure has led to a unfortunate amount of turnovers for this Devils team. Currently, the turnover count for them is 17, and that's limiting the total number of shot attempts that the Australians can get. And they've got 16 on the half, and they've only converted 2 out of that 16 from a two-pointer perspective. So if you look at on the USA side, They've got 18 of 36 on the 2-point conversions, or 50%, and their turnovers far lower with 0.
So they've had over double the amount of shot attempts as Australia has had, and that is just speaking numbers to, one, their pressure they're putting on, and two, Australia's nerves, not exactly being able to take care of the ball here. Even when there hasn't been extreme pressure, they just haven't been able to connect the dots, and they've made a couple of mistakes that have ended up turning into passes to a class 1, for example. Not a big player, not a fast player necessarily, but you can't pass the ball straight to the other team's 1-pointer.
Yeah, and to do that, to improve that rather, you need to make shorter passes. So if your passes don't have the accuracy that they need in order to get to where you're trying to throw it or pass it, then you need to cut off the distance or reduce the distance. And so getting an intermediate pass and then the second pass after that is going to increase the accuracy. But look, this Australia wheelchair basketball program, that country has produced great results throughout their history. And Coach Charlton is going to have his athletes in there refocused, and he's got to set up some micro level goals for them. You can't think, oh my goodness, in 20 minutes we have to overcome a 32-point deficit, which is really hard to do. But what are you going to do in the first few minutes? What are you going to do in each of those possessions? And putting together some very specific goals. So obviously one of those goals, limit turnovers. Another goal is to increase your shot percentage by getting some better looks. That starts by getting the ball out of Annabelle Lindsay's hands and getting the ball back into her hands once she gets closer to the paint or all the way in the paint. And look, Annabelle Lindsay's a great scorer. She easily could end up being one of the all-tournament members of all-tournament players in this tournament here. So she's going to be that, or has a chance to be that, based on the fact that she's a great scorer. She's a great athlete. And so coaches in there have to give her some confidence and motivation is exactly what I'd be doing.
Exactly. And going back to those micro goals, so far USA being able to get 20 points inside of the paint and 18 points from turnovers. So I would definitely try to focus on those two as big micro goals for the third quarter and then the fourth quarter as well. You want to try and close out the paint. Rose Hollerman, smaller than both Lindsay and Shadwell, getting in a little bit too much, getting way too many looks under the basket, and also points from turnovers, 18. That is a huge amount of points from turnovers.
Yeah, and let's see. I mean, and then if you're Coach Johnson on the other end for the USA team, you're going to want to make sure that your team doesn't take for granted that you have the game in hand. So you're going to want to make sure whether you go in with your starters to begin the second half or you go in with a new combination of your athletes. We already know that he's tended to go with about 9 of his athletes. They have one athlete who's injured currently, Riley Youngdahl, and he's probably going to come out with a slightly modified lineup. But what any coach would be telling that team is, we don't want you to come in at the same level of intensity. We want you to take it up a notch. Don't take it for granted. This is a gold medal world championship game. Come out and earn it.
Exactly. This is the last game of the tournament. Leave everything you have on the court right now. And we've talked before about how you've been around the sport for quite a while. So you've kind of seen the evolution of how the game has developed as far as players go, and how teams are maybe trying to start to go away from the 4-5 or the high point run lineups, and they're getting a bit more midpoint lineups in there, and we're seeing some more midpoint starting to dominate the game. What do you think about as far as the equipment has gone? So the chairs themselves have had a big evolution here in the last 10 years or so.
Well, you're going to make me humble myself, which is not really easy for me to handle, but I have been around since the mid to late 90s, playing the game, starting in Chicago, Illinois, where I started with the RIC Hornets. But around that time period, there weren't as many. The 5th and 6th wheel in the back of the chair were just beginning to make their way into the standard manufacturing process. And as you think about putting that 5th and 6th wheel back there, it allows the players to be more aggressive with their center of gravity with the chair. so they can move that center of gravity forward, which in combination with more camber on the chair, because you're less worried about tipping, you can really optimize your level of function in the chair. So the speed of the game, the mobility of the game, and just how agile the players are really is a consequence of that. And then something else that has changed a lot since then is the way in which players are strapping into the chair. So if you were to go back and watch some games from late 80s, early 90s, you'd see some of these videos where athletes, or maybe less video, more stills, you'd see some of the athletes who are falling physically out of the chair as opposed to being strapped in. So truly now when we say that the athletes are one with the chair, that's not an overstatement. And when you tune the chair in the manner that I described here a little while ago, it really makes for a much more dynamic game where you see our players becoming much more athletic. And some of the athletes who we've referenced earlier, like Troy Sachs, who played at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater in the United States, part of our collegiate program with the NWBA, he, along with players like Joe Johnson and Jeff Glassbrenner, and then players like Pat Anderson at Illinois at the time, really began to introduce tilting under the tutelage of Mike Frogley, who was the head coach of the Canadian men's national team, a highly decorated men's program when you look across the world. And Coach Frogley really helped introduce some of those techniques, which again creates a great advantage. So some of those things, in my opinion, have been huge advances. And if you're a student of the game, you begin to wonder, what's that next big advancement that's going to come in the game? So that's something that we can look forward to. We obviously don't know what it is yet, but it's exciting to think about.
It is. And speaking of the college programs in the U.S., not even just with the U.S. girls on this team, but many international players are over there. We have some, there's some German players overseas, or overseas for them in the U.S. playing in college programs, as well as there has been a couple of GB players over there as well at the University of Illinois at Helen Freeman. There's been some Australian players over there, Canadian players. How do you think the setup, both men's and women's side, the setup of the college programs has helped develop the game for these younger players?
Well, in the U.S., we don't have a high-performance academy per se, but we have a great pipeline that we can develop through our junior program and into collegiate. But, you know, we're wide open to international players, as you can tell. Coaches have the discretion to bring in anyone from around the world. And whether you're a foreign athlete coming to the States or you're an athlete who lives in America, then you have the opportunity to train 6 days a week like any other college athlete. And when you're doing that, your learning is accelerated immensely. So it's not even just what you can develop from a physical perspective. Clearly, we see players before they go in and after they come out, there's a physical transformation that takes place where the strength and conditioning coaches put together great programs for these athletes to come out as elite athletes from their programs. But above and beyond that, when you combine it with the basketball IQ that they're getting from some of the best coaches in the world, then it's a great news story to tell. So we're happy that we're able to produce great Americans, but we're also proud that we're an attractive destination for great, talented foreigners to come over and compete in the U.S. We've produced some of the world's best, or played a part, rather, in producing some of the world's best.
And I think that's been huge. And it's not even just great coaches they're learning from. These great coaches have, for the majority of the time, been also great athletes at some point in time. You have Jay Nelms over at UTA. You have Steph Wheeler at Whitewater. You have Jeremy Lottie and Christina Schwab/Rip, depending on what time period you knew her at, over at Whitewater. You have some really fantastic former athletes, now coaches over in those college programs, as well as, for example, at the University of Missouri, you have Coach Likens, who has now won a gold medal with both a men's and women's Paralympic team. And yeah,
Hall of Fame coach, and one of I believe he is our winningest coach on a national team level. But absolutely, and what I love about it is whether you're able-bodied involved in the sport of wheelchair basketball or you're an individual who's been a beneficiary of the sport directly, I love it when people have benefited from the sport and then they find a way to get back involved and give back in the sport. So wherever you are in the world, if you're a wheelchair basketball player, have competed in the game, my encouragement to you is to find a way to get involved and give back to the sport, because 99.9% of the time, just getting involved as an athlete creates a much higher trajectory for your life in many other ways.
And speaking of involvement, while we have some time, do you want to hit us up with the sponsors that have helped put on such a fantastic tournament here in Suphanburi, Thailand?
There's nothing that I'd like to do more than to share with the audience a special recognition of these sponsors. So it's the Sport Authority of Thailand, the Nation Sport Development Fund, the Sport Association for the Disabled of Thailand under the royal patronage of His Majesty the King, the Suphanburi province overall, which is a great destination if you're looking for a holiday or vacation. Sport Association for Wheelchair Basketball in Thailand has been a great host for many tournaments in the zone, not just this under 25 championship. The Football Thai Factory Sporting Goods Company, Boon Rod Brewery Company, they've complimented or given away some complimentary product. Molten Basketball, great international supporter of the game of wheelchair basketball. CFA Company, Bangkok Mass Transit Authority, who've offered up a world-class fleet, getting our athletes safely and securely from the hotel to the gym and vice versa. And then the IWBF. They've got not only their staff here, they've got classifiers here, officials here, and there's a great collaborative approach that they've taken with the local organizing committee. I think one of the things that the IWBF should get credit for is helping to develop these local organizing committees that then become better able at putting on tremendous tournaments beyond just the event at which they're hosting. So having put on this event now, they're going to have even more capability to put on future events as well. So kudos to the IWBF for doing that. And we appreciate as well what they've done to bring all of you this live stream. It's great to be able to give people who didn't have an opportunity to be here in person the chance to see the game on the web. And we appreciate you listening to us learn the proper way to speak some of the names that we've been speaking.
Listening to us if they haven't muted us already.
Correct.
Now, minute and a half left to go. What are you expecting from the Aussies coming out?
I'm hoping for the Aussies to give a good punch in the mouth of the Americans, to come out and show their fight. I mean, it's a strong, proud culture, and hopefully Coach Charlton has them fired up and amped up and said, hey, give it your best go in these first 3 minutes. I think conversely, Coach Johnson is saying the exact same thing. Don't let them go where they want to go. You put your chairs on them and deny.
And a little bit of history. This is the third under-25 women's wheelchair basketball championships. The USA did win the first one. GB won the second one. But Australia has been in the final all three U25 women's wheelchair basketball world championships. So this is something that they're used to seeing, and hopefully we're able to see a much better second half.
I agree. Score currently 36-4. 20 minutes left to determine the 2019 under-25 women's wheelchair basketball world champion.
And we have some new faces on the floor from USA. Emily Oberst, Elizabeth Becker, and Itzy Gonzalez seeing their first minutes.
Bold play by the Americans. Lindsay Zerbrug comes out, rolls into a three. The ball rolls around the rim and opts not to go in. Being that she is coached by legendary player Trooper Johnson, no surprise that he encouraged her on that three.
I did hear that back in his day, also a player that's been around for a while, that he was known to shoot a three or two, one or two.
Prolific is a word that describes his history. Annabelle Lindsay misses the first shot attempt of her second half. She was a little bit closer than some of the shots in the first half, but may want to work on just getting a tad closer. Zerbrug to Oslickson. Over to Oberst. Back to Zerbrug. Zerbrug hits the 2. Zerbrug having herself a game.
It's going to be her 12th point so far this game. Right now, the second top scorer for USA.
She got 15 yesterday in the semi. She's on track. Annabelle Lindsay, great position in the paint. Gets fouled by Josie Oslickson. She leaned back to try to contest with her arm up. She got a little bit of a bump on that back wheel as she leaned back, but she came down on Annabelle Lindsay's chair, and that's not her space. That's Annabelle's space, so that's a foul on her.
Annabelle Lindsay being sent to the line for 2 free throws.
Let's see if this can get Annabelle Lindsay going. Beautiful shot on the first one. Great way to initiate some offense is to hit a nice free throw. Hopefully she'll hit 2 of 2 if you're a fan of the Devils. Second one is up and in. Annabelle Lindsay, great sign for the Australian Devils. Hits 2 of 2. Let's see if that gets her shot going. Oslickson with the ball. Swings it to the left side to Lindsay Zerbrug. Zerbrug to Oslickson. Back to Zerbrug. Zerbrug, another 2. At some point, if you're the Devils, you may want to jump Zerbrug.
Yeah, they're opting to sit inside right now and play a zone, not allow anybody in the key, which we saw that USA had 20 points inside the key from basically just Rose Hollerman. Rose Hollerman's now on the bench. They've got to start getting out on Zerbrug and see who else can hit some shots.
Exactly right. Tough shot there by Tisha Shadwell. She was about 17 feet from the basket. Fair amount of time left on the clock. She's got great size. She's one of the Twin Towers. She makes it up on the defensive end. Disrupts the first shot of Emily Oberst, who got too deep underneath the rim. Shadwell to Annabelle Lindsay. Annabelle Lindsay drives to the lane. Loses control of the ball. It bounces off the foot plate of Mary Friday. Unforced turnover. She'd like to have that one back. Negates the great play by Shadwell, disrupting the earlier shot on Oberst. Oslickson to Oberst. Oberst working the 2-man side with Ixel Gonzalez. Ball swung around to Zerbrug. Puts it right up. Misses this time. Marianne Latou with the ball. Nice pick by Lindsay. Secondary pick by Isabel Martin. Lindsay rolls free to the lane. Puts it up. Puts it in. Annabelle Lindsay continues her strong start for the second half. 40-8. Great production so far in the second half. All of it so far by Lindsay, but a great pick by Isabel Martin. Great low point play by her. Lindsay Zerbrug skip pass over to Oberst. Oberst puts it up. Long. Marianne Latou. Breakout by Annabelle Lindsay. They're going to want to pressure the pass, are the Americans. Too long of a pass by Tisha Shadwell. She had another moment to get it over the half before the count started in the lane.
USA opting to try and backpick Lindsay. Now with a double team. The 2 trying to help her break free.
Lizzie Becker, teammate of Annabelle Lindsay at University of Texas Arlington, both coached by Jay Nelms.
With great speed. Josie Laskin getting great wheel position there, sending Lindsay to the floor. USA has a numbers advantage.
Shot put up by Emily Oberst. That one hits a couple parts of the rim, then decides to go down. Good job there by the Aussies to get it over the half. Tisha Shadwell goes right by Lindsay Zerbrug, gets point blank in the lane, puts it up, puts it in. Twin Towers beginning to produce here for the Aussies. Tremendous strength and speed there by Tisha Shadwell. Sits that high in her chair and able to get that much strength in her push. Beautiful job by her. Ixel Gonzalez, or Emily Oberst rather. Strong pressure there by Annabelle Lindsay disrupts the shot.
Now, in these lineups that we're seeing from both teams are very similar, actually. They're both running with 2-4-5s on the court. But as you can see, Australia having a big height advantage over both 4-5s of the USA team, and they're getting some pretty easy mismatches. They're pretty close to the basket.
And surprisingly, a couple of these high pointers are pushing as fast or faster than the American mid-pointers. So let's see if they can create more advantage. Under 10 on the shot clock. Tisha Shadwell with the ball on the left wing. Marianne Latu trying to screen for her. Tough pass, tries to get it over to Annabelle Lindsay. Lindsay Zerbrug on the break. 2-on-1, over to Lindsay Becker, puts it up, and good! Lindsay Becker with the score on the right side. Great pass by Zerbrug. 2-on-1 advantage, Americans, they take advantage.
Scramble of the ball for the Australians.
Great job by Marianne Latu to recover that ball, get it over within the 8 seconds. Annabelle Lindsay gets the mismatch on Oslickson, puts it up, puts it in. Ladies and gentlemen, she's feeling it. Great job by Annabelle Lindsay. She's come out swinging in this second half.
Australia doing a great job of taking on this USA change of a lineup, really attacking them, knowing that these are a little bit less experienced players. Abby Duncan and Rose Hollerman both on the bench right now, so Australia using the opportunity while they can.
Tough shot there, even though it was point blank for Itzy Gonzalez. She shot it long outstretched arms of Annabelle Lindsay. She's making an impact on the offensive side and the defensive side. Tisha Shadwell with the ball, swings it to the right side. Lindsay dumps it down to Isabel Martin, misses, gathers her board, gets hacked down low by the Americans. Australians will retain possession. 44-12. We're going to look for the quarterly breakdown here, but clearly the Aussies have already outproduced their earlier performance in the first half. There's 8 points for them so far in the third. Just over 5 minutes gone. They've scored 8 points when in the first half they had only scored 4. 6 of those points going to Annabelle Lindsay and 2 of those points going to Tisha Shadwell. Twin Towers.
And looking at the first half, it's 18-2 for both the first and second quarter. So Australia obviously really taking advantage, holding it equal now 8-8 for both teams in this third.
One of the things we've seen Coach Trooper Johnson do, foul on that play. Number 8 goes to the hole. That's Georgia Bishop Cash from Brisbane. And she goes to the hole, gets bumped on the chair while she's in the act of shooting. She'll go to the line for 2. What I was going to say is that Coach Trooper Johnson has been committed to the development of this team, going deep in his roster, as we said, typically 9 to 10 players deep, oftentimes all 11 of his available athletes. So he's going to probably let them weather this storm here for a while before he makes a change. We'll find out.
Yeah, they do still have a very comfortable 32-point gap, so why not allow these players to try and figure out how to continue the level that was set in the first half themselves.
Absolutely right. We also see Coach Steve Charlton doing the same thing. Nice mix of a lineup here on the court for the Aussies. Lindsay Zerbrug with the ball, 5 seconds on the clock. She creates space and creates points. Annabelle Lindsay came out on the baseline that side. Lindsay Zerbrug took a power dribble to the left just to create 4 to 5 feet of space. That was enough space for her to get the shot up and get it in. Lindsay Zerbrug continuing a great offensive performance here. 16 points in the game, only to be outdone by a co-captain on the team, Rose Hollerman. On the other side of the ball, Annabelle Lindsay with 8 of the 12 for the Australians. Annabelle Lindsay with the ball, dishes to Marianne Latu, over to Georgia Bishop Cash, back up to Latu. Latu into Annabelle Lindsay, squares up, puts it in over Itzy Gonzalez of Chicago, Illinois. That's still a mismatch. Itzy Gonzalez, not a small player, but dare I say, Annabelle Lindsay is the tallest player on the court. Lindsay Zerberg with the ball. She locks, she loads, just short. Marianne Latou, a nice rebound by her. She's having a pretty good performance. She's got 7 defensive rebounds. That might have been her 8th. She's having a good impact on the board, she is. Annabelle Lindsay this time settles for about a 15-footer. She's got mismatches if she gets inside. I'd encourage her to do exactly that. Emily Oberst brings the ball up on the left side, swings it over to Josie Oslickson. They balance the court, get it to Lindsay Zerbrug. She gets hooked by Latou, was going to dump it down to Oberst. They created the 2-man advantage. Help didn't come over, so you'd likely argue that was a smart foul by Latou.
Yeah, Australia right now on the defense still opting to not really jump Lindsay Zerbrug. They're putting on a hard yo-yo. They're pressuring her, but not a full jump. And they have Annabelle Lindsay, as you see, sagging into the middle of the key and basically playing like shark in the water kind of thing. They're just trying to pressure anybody that starts seeing any type of movement towards the basket. USA taking her off guard. Zerbrug drives low. Lindsay recovers to her, leaving Oberst wide open for a layup there down the middle.
Yeah, great shot by her. Even though she looked wide open at any given moment, you've got big Annabelle Lindsay bearing down on you, so that'll make anyone think about it. Turnover that time by Lindsay. I believe it was Itzi Gonzalez who got her fingertips on it, recovered by the Americans. Oslickson with the ball, patient, turns, passes over to Oberst. They reverse it through the point over to Zerbrug. Zerbrug takes the ball down low. Oslickson all the way around the horn one more time. Oberst with the shot. Comes up short. Good defense that time by Jess Kranya.
Australia needing to get the ball over half. Able to do so. 2 seconds left.
Jess Kranya, coached by Troy Sachs, legendary Australian roller. Ball reversal from Lindsay to Kranya. She ends up losing that ball off of her knee, out of bounds to the Americans. And they've done actually a good job thus far in managing the turnovers. But these last couple of plays, 2 turnovers, I believe, on the last 2 plays for Australia. Going to be a tough turnover count for them. Oslickson with the ball on the left side. Exchanges with Itzi Gonzalez. Gonzalez to Zerbrug on the skip pass. Dumps down to Oberst. Catch, gather, shoot. She didn't take her time as much as she could have. I think she took a look at Kranya instead of looking at the box on the backboard.
Yeah, and
can't take your eye off your target.
And Tasha Ovens there taking Lindsay's spot there in the middle of the defense. But however, obviously still a mismatch for Oberst, but that contact just threw her a bit off her shot.
Georgia Bishop Cash took her time to spin around for a shot, but when she spun around, she found herself probably just outside of her range. Came up short on that shot, unfortunately.
USA opting to let the ball bounce. 11 seconds left on the game clock.
48-14. Zerberg brings it up. You'll hear Team USA start a count. Help comes over, gets it to Oslickson. She doesn't shoot it, passes it to Oberst.
And Trooper Johnson telling her to shoot that ball.
Well, that's fair. Trooper Johnson never met a shot he didn't like. He'd shoot it with 20 seconds on the clock if he could. Good news for him is it would usually go in. But I'm pretty sure Josie Oslickson over there, she's clapping it out with Coach Johnson, probably laughing it off. She's a smart player. She knows she should have shot it.
She is, and she's someone that has also benefited from the college programs over in the U.S., played alongside of Rose Hollerman, Abby Duncan, as well as many other of these players that have actually gone over and started developing at UTA. Annabelle Lindsay, for example, trains all season long with some of these USA players.
Yeah, so great familiarity, therefore, between the Lady Moving Mavs, which are members of that UTA team. I believe there's 5 members of that squad on Team USA. So it's a great warehouse of talent currently in the women's division. And so they're therefore very familiar with Annabelle Lindsay, but that hasn't stopped Annabelle from coming out in this second half and making her presence felt. She's got 10 points on the game, doing more damage in that half than she had in the first half. So if you're an Australian Devils fan, you're going to want to see her continue to be aggressive. And as we said, turnovers killing the Aussies. Although they did a better job in that third quarter, towards the end of that third quarter, that turnover bug came back. So Coach Steve Charlton probably imploring the team to make right reads and short passes. Coach Johnson comes out with Abigail Baulecki, Lizzie Becker, Nina Welfley, Bailey Moody, and Ixel Gonzalez. This is a youthful lineup for the U.S. Coach Johnson choosing to focus on developing these athletes. Let's see what they can do.
And I believe this is the youngest lineup he could possibly run right now, minus the player that we mentioned is injured, Riley Youngdahl. She would be an addition to this young lineup, but right now this is his 5 youngest players that he has playing right now.
Absolutely, and Coach Charlton doing the same thing. He's got a second lineup in here. Isabel Martin, the only starter, along with Marianne Latu, who's on the court. But Georgia Bishop Cash went in on the drive that time, went around Abby Baulecki, and got fouled by Baulecki, put the shot in, but unfortunately didn't convert on the free throw. Itzy Gonzalez, probably one of the bigger threats in this lineup for USA, sits off the screen on the left side, confidently puts up the shot, squares her shoulders, has good form, and then obviously the good result follows. Marianne Latu with the ball on the right side, drops it down to Mary Friday, or attempts to do so. Really tough pass.
And a travel call on Itzy Gonzalez.
Yep. Ref felt that she took more than 2 pushes or pulls in combination before she put it down. I couldn't see it from here, but I trust IWBF officials, especially now that I'm not playing.
And they go through a lot of education to be able to get to this level of refereeing.
Kranya with the ball, drops it off to Latu. Unfortunately, Kranya should not have made that pass. They were already under 5 seconds. They probably need that Aussie bench to scream a little louder, give them a hand, be the 6th man on the court, let them know where the shot clock is.
I was just about to say the same thing. We didn't hear anything from the Aussie bench, and sometimes the bench can help lead those 5 players on the court and bring and develop that energy.
They absolutely should. Ixel Gonzalez inside this time with an 8-footer, puts it up confidently over Georgia Bishop Cash. Ixel Gonzalez has had herself a very fine under 25 tournament.
And this is her
2-16.
And this is Gonzalez's first time playing at an international tournament, and she is definitely at the age of 14 let her presence be known.
Georgia Bishop Cash, that shot looked good. She used a little bit of roll to get more air under that shot. Went just long. Nice to see her confidently take the shot, however. Ball swung over to Ixel Gonzalez. She reverses it to Bailey Moody. Bailey Moody with the ball. Here's her team calling down the shot clock. Puts it up with 8 seconds. She had time for one more pass to get it to the hot hand, Ixel Gonzalez. But they probably want to see Bailey Moody get going as well. Her first few games in this tournament, she was on fire. Marianne Latu swings it over to Georgia Bishop Cash. She gets it onto the baseline, drives in.
Just
pressure
off the mark.
of Bailey Moody. She shot it long based on that pressure. Moody brings it up deliberately, drops it off for Welfley in the middle. Mary
Great recovery by the Australians on defense.
Yep, really good transition. However, somebody, now that Gonzalez has hit her 3rd shot in a row, they need to make the adjustment to jump that shooter and make someone else score the points for America. 54-16. Georgia Cash unable to gather that shot, couldn't get 2 hands above her head to grab that pass, rather. Tough turn of events for the Aussies. This is a big run for the Americans, getting stops on defense while getting scores on offense. Not a good combination if you're a Devils follower.
Yeah, Bailey Moody getting a pretty easy look there from really close inside, and Australia not even really getting a hand up to try and contest that shot.
Yeah, the last play they had good transition defense, not so much on that one. Kranya with the pass over to Georgia. Bishop Cash with the ball, 6 seconds on the clock, 4 seconds on the clock, over to Kranya, to Latu. Latu puts it in! Under duress, shot clock winding down. Beautiful ball movement and patience by the Aussies. Marianne Latu, 4-2, puts it up and in. That looked beautiful.
We're going to see Lindsay checking back into the game for Bishop Cash. USA athletes are going to try and upright Abby Bollicky.
Might be nice if one of the American staff came off of the bench and onto the court to give Bollicky a shot. She's tried hard to get up on her own.
Yes, Bollicky is a 1.5 player, so obviously the lower classification of a player means a little bit higher of a disability, obviously, and you can often see that with the lower classification players needing a little bit more help to get up off the ground sometimes.
Yeah. For those at home who are unaware, the low point in our classification system means that they have the least amount of core. So if you're 1.0, you typically have zero abdominal function or just the top couple of abs. And then as you go higher into the classification system, you find people who can ambulate or a single amputee with a 4.5. That's the range from 1.0 to 4.5 in 0.5 increments. And then the coaches have to not exceed 14 points on the floor at a given time. 2 ball swings, and Ixel Gonzalez puts up another shot. She cools off a little there. Good sign for the Aussies. Annabelle Lindsay back in the game. Didn't know that the defender was behind her. Ali Ibanez with that wingspan we referenced earlier. Tipped it off her lap. Americans maintain possession. Welfley with the ball. Back over to Zerbrug. Zerbrug skips it as the Americans count it down from the bench. Ixel misses everything on that one. Annabelle Lindsay can have that effect on people when she's just on their side. Tall player, smart player. Number 12 in for the Australians. That's Sarah King from Queensland. Turnover for the Aussies. Again, Welfley to Zerbrug on the right side. Zerbrug
searching for an outlet.
Pass. Drops it off to Nina Welfley. Ball rims in and out. You hear the Americans oohing and ahhing on the bench. They really wanted that to go in for Welfley. It did not. Here comes Annabelle Lindsay with pace. She's got a mismatch. Swings it over to Kranya. Kranya with the ball, considers it, skips it back over to Lindsay. Lindsay puts it up. No good.
Kranya.
Nice rebound, however, to Kranya, who puts it up and in. Kranya that time
getting her first 2 points of the game. Now with about 4 minutes left to go, 56-20 for USA.
Americans have a sizable lead here. Dump down to Lizzie Becker, puts it up and in. Great shot by Lizzie Becker. Nice to see the Americans getting contribution from all members of that roster. Most of them have contributed points in the game. Out of all of them, we've currently got Bollecki, who's yet to score, and Ali Ibanez. 4 minutes left to do so if they so choose. The Americans, big smiles on their faces. They've got a commanding lead in this one. They're feeling pretty good about their return to an under-25 championship. They sat out in 2015, did not send a team, but back in 2011, they earned the first championship of this under-25 championship format. So looking to get 2 out of 2 that they've participated in, and it looks like they may be well on their way. Never say never, but with a 38-point deficit, you just might have to.
You might have to. And if you look at this USA roster, you have a lot of experience on there as well. You have Rose Hollerman that has been to 2 Paralympics now, London 2012 and Rio 2016. You have Abigail Duncan, who's been in the Rio 2016 Paralympics as well as the 2014 World Championships. You have a ton of these collegiate players training with former Paralympians, current Paralympians. Lots of experience on the USA bench, and they've definitely showed how well they've been trained and how well they can stay composed in this tournament.
Victoria Simpson, 13 years old, coming into the game for the Aussies.
And she is the youngest player here at this tournament. Only been playing for, we were told, 4 to 5 months.
Yeah, less than a year for sure. And great to see Coach Steve Charlton. This game may be out of reach. So what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to get some of your athletes' experience in a championship final. It will pay dividends in the future if she stays committed to the game. Annabelle Lindsay, that shot looked good. Rolled just in and out. Annabelle Lindsay gathers it again, puts it off the glass and puts it in with contact. Got bumped down below, but unfazed. Annabelle Lindsay takes the hit, kisses it off the glass, and gets another 2. That's her 12th point of the game, going to the line to shoot for number lucky 13, and she gets it. Number 13 gets point number 13. Annabelle Lindsay directing the young Victoria Simpson on what she wants to see from her in the 2-man game. Ixel Gonzalez just long off the back iron. Annabelle Lindsay focused and determined, pushing hard up the court, trying to establish a mismatch.
Attacking the weaker defensive side, but opting for that 45-degree shot there.
Yeah, that'd be one where if she gave the ball up to the point, she could have easily got a mismatch down on the low block. She felt she already had it, but that's the difference between a good shot and a great shot. Something she'll learn with more years under her belt. Ixel Gonzalez. Her first 2 maybe from the right side. She scored her earlier flurry from the left. Gonzalez now with 8 points on the game in a relatively short period of time. Ball on the right side to Kranya. Kranya up to Mary Friday.
Fumbles the ball. Wellfleet going to be able to go for a fast break opportunity. Dishes is out to Moody.
Moody doesn't take the best angle on that one, so just misses. I would have liked to see Nina Wellfleet take that one in. She was fully ahead of the play. Could have came in for a left side layup, uncontested. Lindsay to Kranya. Kranya for 2. She had a mismatch down on the right block, and she took advantage of it. Lindsay looking to distribute that time, and it was a really good pass. Picked Kranya right in her shooter's pocket, and she was able to go up for a clean score. Good jump by Lindsay on Gonzalez. She swings it over to Moody. Moody doesn't get the bounce.
Wellfleet almost being able to get the offensive rebound, but just deflecting it back to the Aussies.
Yep. Kranya with the ball. She's got a couple baskets now. Let's see if she looks for another. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Nina Wellfleet goes after the ball. Huge mismatch there. Annabelle Lindsay has the mismatch on Wellfleet, but Wellfleet scrappy, goes for the ball. Ixel Gonzalez goes in for a layup. Fouled on the play by number 12, Sarah King from Queensland. Plays for the Queensland Comets.
And she is currently the 2nd youngest player at this tournament. So Australia maybe not going to be able to pull out the gold medal, obviously, in this game. But like we said earlier, they only have 2 players that are not going to be eligible to return due to age and the next under-25 World Championship. So this is experience that these girls are going to be able to take in to the next one.
Exactly right. And if you're Coach Steve Charlton, that's exactly what you're saying there on the sideline. Show me how you can execute an end-of-game situation. Don't look at the scoreboard. You girls have fought your hardest. You may have been outmatched for today, but let's go out here and execute on a fine play to end the game, and let's show them with Australian pride what we're able to do.
Yeah, and then that last game, like we said, they faced each other in group play. USA came away with a 25-point win there, showed that they were a force of this tournament, and right now we're looking at a 35-point gap. Math is not my strong suit. 35-point gap for the Americans here.
Absolutely. You can hear this proud Aussie crowd, family members of these athletes up in the stands, giving them a cheer, want them to end on a high note. Excel Gonzalez goes to the line for her first of two. Beautiful form. Puts it up, puts it in. Teammates cheer for her, and she gives them a smile. Americans might begin to celebrate here momentarily. Excel Gonzalez hits both of them. She's having a strong performance here. That was, I believe, her 9th and 10 points in this final. Kranya with the ball. Annabelle Lindsay working hard on the right side. Kranya with the ball. Swings it through the point. Lindsay gets inside. They executed just as Charlton drew it up. Unfortunately, basketball gods are not smiling down on the Aussies now. That was one of the closer shots that Annabelle had, and unfortunately, it just didn't go.
Just
Bailey
under
Moody,
a minute to play now.
Baseline shot. She had the mismatch there.
Simpson coming away with the rebounds. Ovens bringing the ball up the court, running the point. Looking for an outlet, swings it over to Kranya. Nina Wellfleet getting a hand on the ball once again.
She's scrappy. She's had a big impact on this game since she's come in, getting her hand on a lot of deflections. 26.5 left in the game, 7 seconds on the shot clock. Annabelle Lindsay comes off of a screen.
That is going to be called an offensive foul, a charge on number 5, Jess Kronyau.
Didn't see exactly how that went. We've got 0.7 differential game shot and shot clock. Look for the Americans to possibly not even put a shot up here. Bailey Moody to Excel Gonzalez. We're beginning to hear some cheers on the American side of the court.
They are opting to hold the ball, run the game clock. 5 seconds left. You can hear the USA chants echoing through the gym now.
Few hugs being handed out. That's game, ladies and gentlemen.
We
The
have
USA are your IWBF 2019 Under-25 Women's Wheelchair Basketball World Champions.
undefeated at this tournament.
The Americans were champions in 2011, did not come to the 2015 tournament, but came out here again to Subonpuri, Thailand, to an incredibly well-run tournament, and the Americans are going to go away gold medalists here in this tournament. You see them celebrating here. They're going to cut that short and then go over to congratulate the Aussies on a fine tournament themselves. Always a great show of sportsmanship around the USA or around the wheelchair basketball world, where these players are fierce competitors on the court and then make sure that they've got a great display of sportsmanship off the court.
Thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, I hope you continue to catch more wheelchair basketball in the future as IWF continues to hold more future events, under 25, under 24, under 22, helping develop the wheelchair basketball world even further.
Couldn't be any happier for the work that the IWBF has done to bring these games to this worldwide audience. We'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. You all have given great followership over the course of this tournament. We appreciate the engagement and we appreciate the support of the game. So from Subonpuri, Thailand, we'll keep the feed going, but we're going to be signing off with the commentary. Thank you so much.
Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is great honor to welcome all of you to awarding ceremony and closing ceremony of IWBF 2019 Under 25 Wheelchair Basketball Bowl Championship. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Mr. Patalapan Kusana, the Chairman, Local Organization Committee, and the President of Wheelchair Basketball Association of Thailand to present the bronze medal to the team playing today. Number 4, Ross Howard. Number 5, Wilbur Bartani. Number 6, Bill Mitchell. Number 7, Rohan. Number 8, Atkin Adela. Number 9, Rohan Book. Number 10, Antik Jet. Number 11, Madeline Thompson. Number 12, Saya Eri. Number 13, Little Sophia. Number 14, Anthony Joy. And number 15, Lois Lucy. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Mr. Don Perlman, Technical Engineer for AUS, to present the silver medal to the team, the Commonwealth of Australia. Number 4, Friday. Number 5, Monday. Number 6, Hard Bottle Rolling. Number 7, Latin Warren. Number 8, Bishop Madcock Georgia. Number 9, Martin Isabel. Number 10, Carter Kota. Number 11, Owen Kepa. Number 12, King Sarah. Number 13, Lindsay Annabelle. And number 14, Susan Victoria. Ladies and gentlemen, may I invite Mr. Robert Pusela, IWBF Secretary General, to present the gold medal to the champion, United States of America. Number 1, Ibanez Agenda. Number 7, Alasan Kofi. Number 8, Golden Abdul. Number 13, Laura Devi. Number 15, Rohman Rosi. Number 20, Roko Aldana. Number 22, Victor Elizabeth. Number 23, Dati Abdul. Number 24, Sebo Sisi. Number 34, Oxford Henry. Number 43, Mori Jerry. And number 54, Honest White. Please stand up for the champion national anthem, the United States of America. Thank you everyone for attending this event. Thanks to the trainers, you are our hero. Thanks to all players and staff, you are the most important people as we reach the end of our football this year's competition. First, thanks to the organizing committee and sponsors. Without them, the competition would not have been possible. See you all next time.